You are listening to the Disney Dream Girls, an unofficial Disney Theme Parks podcast, and this is show number 338 for Sunday, the 8th of November, 2020.
Where dreams begin.
Well, hello and welcome to the Disney Dream Girls. My name is Michelle Young, and together with my jolly good chum Jane Phipps, we are your guides to the place where dreams begin. Hello there, Janie.
Hello there, Michelle, and how are we doing this week?
I'm doing all right, lovely. I'm doing all right.
So it's that first week back after the school break. It's like, busy, isn't it?
And it's that first week back when today, as recording, we have kicked off another lockdown, but it doesn't really matter to me and you because we're educators and we still have to go to school.
Yeah, I just said that today actually to my other half. I said, so what's actually happened then? Nothing for us because I've got Sam and Ethan both working from home. Molly isn't working and I'm going into school as normal. So carry on as we have been doing.
Well, yeah, to be honest, there's no change. And to be honest, I've really loved being back at school, being useful, educating the kids, being a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's just that we've got one or two other things happening and we're not going to mention that this week.
No.
Because we've got some on this day in Disney history, Jane, haven't we?
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you look at these little things, day in history, and there's nothing really much happens, but I was quite pleasantly surprised by the 8th of November. There's quite a lot I've got to talk about. And I'm going to go all the way back to well before you and I were born, Michelle. 1872.
Well, I'd like to think so, Chuck.
But this was the date of birth for a stage actress who went by the name of Lucille Laverne, and she was the voice of both the Wicked Queen and her alter ego in the classic, your favourite, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs.
Aww.
Yeah, and she was also one of the models that Disney artists used to come up with the old crone. So I'm not quite sure what that says about her, but so she was used as a model and for the voice as well. There you go. And then we'll jump forward to 1925, and this was another birthday, and this is for a character actor who goes by the name of Joe Flynn, and he was the voice of Mr. Snoops in The Rescuers, and he's got quite a lot of other credits that go to his name, so things like The Love Bug, The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, The $1 Million Duck, so lots of those films that you instinctively know about going through the 1970s into like the early 80s. But little known fact was he was one of the many celebrities who actually attended the official dedication of Disney World in 1971, which I thought was quite a nice little round out to his little career. We're going to go forward now to 1953. This is the date of birth for an animation director by the name of John Musker. You probably know his name. He started working at Disney in 1977 and his first directing credit was for The Great Mouse Detective.
Oh.
He then paired up with the animator Ron Clements and the two of them kind of became partners. And then they were responsible for things like The Little Mermaid, Hercules, Aladdin, Treasure Planet, The Princess and the Frog, Moana, the little short Gone Fishing, just the odd one or two minor little movies that have come out in the last decade or so. And then he retired in 2018. But I think after a 41-year career, I think he probably deserved to retire, especially with those titles to his belt as well. I mean, it's no small feat, is it?
Not at all.
Now, I did find some really sad news. Are you ready for sad news?
Knowing the date, no, I'm not ready for sad news, Janie. I think I'm going to go blah, blah, blah with my hands over my ears and not listen to this one.
This is going to be 1966, so you might kind of guess where this is leading.
Go on.
This is when the doctors at St. Joseph Hospital in California performed surgery on Walt Disney, and this is when they discovered that he'd got lung cancer in his left lung and they removed it, but obviously it wasn't to be. So this is kind of like the beginning of the end, I suppose. So that's when that all happened, which is really sad, but I thought it was quite significant because we all know about his death and everything, but it's just that little bit of this is when it all came out and they found it. And of course back then it was nothing they could really do about it, unfortunately. We'll jump into the 1970s and release of the 21st animated feature film, which was Robin Hood.
Oh, still not seen it.
Have you not?
No.
Oh.
I prefer the one with the amazing Christian Slater and Morgan Freeman. It's got some nice eye candy in. Obviously, it's got him in it from Bodyguard, but
yeah. Well, I mean, I do like the animation, and obviously with living very close to Nottingham, Robin Hood is a well-known character to myself. And I will say that we happened to be in Florida the year that the movie that you're talking about came out. And whenever we told anybody where we were from, you can imagine, oh, that's where Robin Hood lives. No, he lived, not sort of, not really, but yeah. So that was our claim to fame that year, was that we were from the place where Robin Hood came from. I think if we'd got $1 for every time we'd had that conversation, we'd have been very rich.
Well, I suppose it makes a change from, hey, you know the Queen, or do you live near London?
True, that's very true, yeah. And my last little bit of on this day in Disney history, we're going to stop at 1980, and this saw the official opening of Big Thunder Mountain Railroad, although it had actually been running since the September, but it didn't get its proper opening until the 8th of November. So quite a mixed bag there. I was quite surprised at all that I found out.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Right, well, shall we move on a little bit? I found something that tickled my fancy a little bit on the old Disney websites this week, having a little look through. So I'm sure there's people listening to the podcast right now that are absolutely obsessed with Marvel.
Yeah, I would imagine there's an odd one or two out there, yeah.
Well, the good people over at Citizen Watch have teamed up with them, and they've put out a watch.
I saw a very quick glimpse of this just earlier on.
And it's, to be honest, it's the tackiest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's quite gaudy.
Very gaudy. It's got round the dial it says proof that Tony Stark has a heart. How is a watch proof he's got a heart? Is it some sort of way of checking his heartbeat? By the looks of it, it's not tech. It's old school watch, but I was stunned even more that the Iron Man watch has a limited edition of 1,500.
Right.
And it's $495.
Wow. I did see it very quickly. I must admit, I did kind of skim past it because it's not. I mean, I don't even wear a watch. Do people wear watches nowadays? They obviously do. I don't wear a watch, so I did kind of squish past it. But I thought, well, obviously, it's trying to emulate his whatever it is he has in his chest, which I'm going to get shouted at because I don't know the name. But I'm guessing that's what it's trying to emulate, isn't it?
Yeah, but have a look at the packaging. I can see the little bit of threads of the glue gun. It's not exactly haute couture, to be honest. It's more like, let's make it in a little garden shed in Bingley.
Yeah, maybe we could have done our own version, shall we, raking in the pounds.
Let's move on, because over on our Facebook page, we have been having a bit of a discussion about villains, and it kind of fits in with the whole Halloween and enjoyment, and we sort of had a poll to see who was going to be the Disney Dreamgirls podcast family's favourite villain.
Okay.
And our favourite villain, Jane, was Maleficent, so I gather you did a little bit of digging out about the backstory of Maleficent and how she came to meet her demise, if she did.
Yeah. Well, I suppose Maleficent is, I think, probably the reason she comes out as being the favourite. I think she's such quintessentially what you associate with Disney. I don't know, there's just something about, if you say villains and Disney, she's kind of the one that pops up into your brain. I don't know why. I think she's just so iconic. Obviously first appeared in their 16th animated feature film, which was Sleeping Beauty, of course, back in 1959. She's the self-proclaimed mistress of all evil, which fits as the word Maleficent obviously is a proper word, and it does mean doing evil or harm. So not a nice person. And obviously the storyline goes along the basis that she curses the infant princess Aurora by saying that when she pricks her finger on the spinning wheel, she will die. Obviously we have the good fairies come in and say, no, that's not going to happen. She's not going to die. She's just going to go into long sleep but has to be roused by one's true love. The cool thing about Maleficent is, I don't know if you've seen any of the early drawings that were done by Mark Davis, and it's kind of a very gothic sort of style. And I have a wonderful book called Disney Villains, and in there's a whole like ethos behind Maleficent. But the drawings themselves kind of emulate the dragon that she becomes at the end. It's some beautiful artwork that's done by Mark Davis, and they talk about how with evil you normally use the colour black, but black when you're animating is a very flat colour, and you don't really get much feeling or depth from it, which is why you've got those lovely greens and purples that Disney tend to use, particularly with Maleficent, to actually highlight exactly what's going on and depict her in that evil sort of way. It's all based on the evil fairy godmother character from Charles Perrault's fairy tale Sleeping Beauty. And also Brothers Grimm did a retelling of the story called The Little Briar Rose. So she appears in that as well. She was voiced in the film by Eleanor Audley, who I think we've talked about before on the show. She also voiced Lady Tremaine from Cinderella as well. The Maleficent character actually appears in Disney Channel's House of Mouse, would you believe? And also in Kingdom Hearts, the video game. And she makes a reappearance in the Disney Channel movie, The Descendants, in which she's portrayed by Kristen Chenoweth. And I love Kristen Chenoweth. I think she's an amazing musical actress. So just a few other little bits where she appears. And of course, 2014 and 2019, we get the live action films, which were obviously played by Angelina Jolie. We know her pet raven's name, don't we, Michelle? Because we had this in one of our Sunday quiz quite a while ago.
Diablo.
Yeah, well done. You see? So we know that she's got Diablo. I think we all know the story of Sleeping Beauty, don't we? And how she gets her to go to sleep, and we've got Prince Philip comes along, he's going to wake Aurora up. Maleficent actually captures Prince Philip. The good fairies come along. They're helping to get everybody out of it. The good fairies have turned Diablo to stone. They freed Philip. He's trying to get out of everywhere. This is when you see that very iconic when she's up on the towers of the castle and she's blasting Philip with lightning, and they get all the thorns come out, and Philip's got to get his way through all that. Then we come to this big confrontation in front of King Stephen's castle, and this is when she transforms into the huge dragon that we all know and love, or hate, depending on how you look at it. What actually happens is the fairies then cast an enchantment spell onto Philip's sword of truth. He throws it into Maleficent's heart, mortally wounding her before she falls and off the cliff and crumbles to her death.
You see, that is a very classic Disney villain ending where they're falling off a cliff.
Yeah, it's funny this, isn't it? I wonder if it's because you're not actually depicting the death bit. It's kind of presumed.
You just sort of see the edge of the cliff and the falling, and then you don't see the blood, guts and brains all over the floor.
Yeah, because that's probably not what you really want to see in a Disney animated movie, is it really?
Not really. And Disney are very, very careful over showing anything that would be too graphic or too upsetting, etc.
Yeah, but she is your quintessential. I say there's just something about, you say the words Disney and villain, and I think she comes to mind straight away.
And I think maybe her popularity has been our favourite villain. It's probably because she's in so many different stories, and also I think the live action movies gave a different side to her where you could understand her motives, and I think sometimes that is quite powerful.
Yeah, they definitely went for a more sympathetic version of her, so you could understand why she did what she did and how she was feeling, which is kind of important. And I think also because her featuring in the parks is so iconic as well, and having the dragon in the parade and things like that, I think it just kind of all encompasses what she's about, really.
Yeah, and I loved the Maleficent movie. I really, really did. I Angelina Jolie did an absolutely amazing job. The only downside to it is when I try and watch it at home, because it's quite a dark movie, I've literally got to watch it in the dark because the slightest glimmer of sunlight and I can't watch it.
Yeah, I must admit, it's been a while. Obviously, 2014 since it came out. It's been a while since I've seen it. I have to confess, I haven't seen the follow-up.
I haven't.
We'll have to put it on our to-do list, Michelle.
Well, it's a very long to-do list, and I think we're going to have plenty of time to complete our to-do list.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Okay. I must admit, the only thing that bugs me about Maleficent as an evil villain is sometimes the portrayal of the in-park character isn't as stunning as it could be. I've seen a few pictures, and I've actually met in Paris themselves, of what looked like to be a 21-year-old wearing a lot of green face paint, and it just didn't come across. For me, Maleficent is an older character. It's not something for someone at the beginning of their career to watch.
No, she's definitely, she's got years of experience under her belt. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, she's a wise woman.
Definitely.
So, when we were looking at our poll, there is one that I would like to share a little bit of information about. Just because it's my favourite film. And technically she was the first villain.
I know where you're going with this. Yeah, go on.
And she's got a few names. She's got the Evil Queen.
Yes.
The Wicked Queen. The Queen. But her proper title, Queen Grimhild.
Grimhild, right. That's sounds quite Yorkshire, Michelle.
Hey, up here's Queen Grimhild.
Doesn't it, just? Sorry.
No, it's German.
Well, yes, obviously, I would because most of these fairy tales are coming out of Grimm's and all that sort of thing, so they are going to be quite Germanic in their originative state. But just suddenly thought, with you coming from Yorkshire and it's being your favourite film, I just thought how appropriate it sounded like a Yorkshire name.
Yeah, true. And, you know, it's actually brought, as you've said, from the Brothers Grimm story, and the Evil Queen is quite cold, she's cruel, she's vain because of her magic mirror, but for me she's the ultimate villain that you could actually meet in the theme parks, because she plays a heck of a character, and I've met her a few times over at Walt Disney World. I've met her at the Artist's Point restaurant for the Snow White themed dinner. I've met her in the parks, in Disneyland. I've met her over by the Wishing Well, and the character is absolutely astounding. And I know in the film she's such a beautiful figure, and it's so difficult to have such a beautiful looking person being so evil, because normally villains are cast with maybe a scar or an eye patch or something that makes them look villainesque in that sort of cartoonesque way.
But I suppose that's the charm with her, isn't it? This sort of beauty that will entice you in before you know just how evil she's going to be.
Exactly. And for me, the way that she has that incantation to turn herself into the old hag is so brilliantly done. And if you go back and look at the concept cartoon work, you know, originally she was going to look quite different, and there was going to deploy, you know, not necessarily the purple colours, but orange.
Nah, I much prefer the purple.
Yeah.
More regal, I think, purple.
It is. It brings across, you know, that she is a queen of high status, and that she is an important person. In one of the earlier incarnations of the story, the outline was the queen was going to kill Snow White using a poison comb.
A poison comb?
Yeah, and the dwarfs were going to come home and remove it from her locks.
Yeah, I think the apple works better.
Yeah. The Queen was originally going to have 7 Black Panthers guarding the entrance to her secret room where the mirror was held.
Oh, that would have been quite spooky. Quite like the sound of that.
I believe if you look carefully enough at the Walt Disney Family Museum, there is some concept art showing the Queen walking a pet panther.
Ooh.
So if you look in the book Snow White, Magic Mirror book and the complete story of Walt Disney's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it reveals that the huntsman, who he was afraid to disobey a command because he was supposed to go and kill Snow White. Well, he was literally fearful because the Queen might feed him to the panthers, or maybe even shrink him magically to the size of a walnut. A little bit of characterisation with that, and I think it could have built up the huntsman's role a little bit more, because the poor man didn't even get a proper title. He's called the huntsman.
Yeah, he's kind of in it and out of it again, isn't he?
But yeah, so I had to sneak that in, and I just love the fact that over in Disneyland you have the reveal of the Queen in the theme park above the attraction. I think that's just a nice little touch. It is definitely lovely that you can still ride this attraction. It was the story that launched the whole Disney animation film successes. So I think it is really, really important that we still have a theme park attraction based on this as a dark ride, because I know in Walt Disney World they have the Mine Coaster, but you can't beat a dark ride.
No, absolutely not. And I agree with you, Michelle. It is something that needs to be acknowledged, because was it not for this, there wouldn't, be all the joyous animations that we've come to love since. So it needs highlighting just how important it actually was.
But it is weird, there isn't a great deal of Evil Queen merchandise. Like, you can get the sort of like jewellery with the hat and a dagger through it, or a jewellery box, but there isn't a great deal of things like plush and costumes. You don't see as many people choosing to cosplay or bound in this character. Just an observation. Maybe I've been in the parks on the wrong days.
No, I agree. I think everything tends to hone in on the apple and dagger sort of emblems for it. So you get a lot of things come out of that end of things, but not so much the character as her as such.
And obviously in the end the Queen does die, but she does live on in the sort of other Disney avenues, and there are lots of branches off that she's gone on to appear in. There's things such as Fantasmic, the Kingdom Keepers. So Jane, thinking about the other villains that we had, would you like to share one more from your list?
One more, all right. I'm going to go with Yzma.
Oh.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I'm going to go with Yzma, so she's obviously appears in the 2000 animated film, The Emperor's New Groove. I love The Emperor's New Groove, and I've got really fond memories of watching the TV series with both of my kids actually when they were little, and I think I just kind of got indoctrinated by it because they wanted to watch it so much, so it kind of has a little bit of a soft spot in my heart. And I just think Eartha Kitt playing Yzma is just perfect. Her voice just has that sort of quality to it. It just fits in perfectly. And of course, you can't mention Yzma without mentioning her henchman, if you want to call him that, Kronk, which of course is voiced by the amazing Patrick Warburton, who we'll all know from Soarin' and things like that. And also David Spade playing Kuzco. I just think they were a perfect combination of actors in those roles that gave it so much life, and for it to go on and have spin-off movies and have the animated series as well, I think is credit to this particular film and the portrayals that were put into it. And Yzma again is one of these characters that she's not been made overtly pretty. She's quite a peculiar looking lady. She thinks she's gorgeous and what have you, but she's really not very gorgeous at all. She obviously plays an evil sorceress. She's the advisor to Emperor Kuzco. But what actually happens is, because he gets offended by her and just fires her, and she doesn't like being fired, so she then makes it her mission to get rid of Kuzco so that she can become empress. And then all sorts of madcap, shall we say, ensue, because Yzma, although she's evil, she's quite comic with it. She's quite eccentric, and she does all these daft things where she will come up with an evil plan to get rid of Kuzco, but normally it's so long-winded that she never actually sees it all the way through. It's kind of like she'll have this sort of grand scheme and it never actually kind of pays off. Initially, she has the idea of she wants to turn Cusco into a flea, put him in a box, put that box in another box, mail it to herself, and smash it with a hammer when it arrives, but then changes her mind in order to save on postage. There was an easier way to do that, Yzma, but she's got this sort of evil villain wanting to come up with the evil plan, and she comes up with these long contorted things that always backfire on her when there's something much more simpler route that she could have actually taken. And I have to say, she's got a few little catchphrases, so she's known going, it's brilliant, 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 and I can't do obviously the kid's voice at all. The other one is to the secret lab, because she's got a secret lab, and then the best one is pull the lever, Kronk, and I'm sure that we've used that phrase numerous times in our daily life around here, because that's how mad we are when it comes to picking up on different things. I think the good thing with this, and because it's more comedy than it is pure evil, there's that sort of play between her and Kronk, how Kronk is kind of, he wants to be there for her, but at the same time, he can see that things she's doing isn't really right. So he's got this battle between doing as he's told by Yzma, but also wanting to make sure he's doing right. But there's a couple of falls in this, because we're talking about Maleficent and falling off the cliff at the beginning. In the New Groove, initially when they're trying to get back to the palace, so there's this race between Cusco and Pasha, and then Yzma and Kronk. So Yzma and Kronk are chasing after Cusco and Pasha, and they use a rope to go across a gorge. Cusco at this point is still the llama, so he bites it and gets rid of the rope. But then Yzma can transport her into wings, and she flies across. But just as they seem to get across to the side, they get struck by lightning and then fall into a chasm. So obviously this is another one of Disney's things where people fall down things, but that doesn't get rid of them. So there's like this weird thing. By the time everybody gets back to the palace, Yzma and Kronk are also there, but nobody knows quite how they've got there, because they've beat Cusco and Pasha, even though they fell in the chasm. It's very sort of bizarre. But whilst they're back at the palace, there's a whole thing going on where she's trying to poison him and one thing another, and they're trying to get potions to get Cusco back to how he should be, and there's lots of tomfoolery, I suppose, going along and trying to get hold of the right potion. It all kind of ends up on the roof of the palace. She gets hold of the final vial that she thinks is going to actually stop Cusco from becoming himself again, but she can't get opening the vial, and in the frustration of trying to open this vial, she falls from the roof. So again, we've got this thing where people are falling off things and meeting their doom, so to speak. But in all of this, she doesn't actually meet her doom, because she ends up turning into a cat.
Everybody wants to be a cat.
Yeah. But because obviously all these potions have got mixed up in one thing or another, so it doesn't actually kind of work out. Cusco gets to be back to his human self, so he's okay. So the good guys win, and it ends up that Yzma is now a cat. She's kind of been looked after, or is like the sidekick now to Kronk, who's become a bit of a scout leader. Do you remember this? And then, do you remember the squirrel language that Kronk was talking as a junior chipmunk? So that's how she ends out her days, having to live with Kronk talking in squirrel language. So maybe that's kind of comeuppance for all her evil wrongdoings. I don't know. But just interesting the fact that, again, there was two falls in there where she could have met her doom. And obviously it seems to be the way that Disney like to attempt, at the very least, to kill off their bad guys by kicking them off something.
Well, it's a film I've never seen, Janie, but I can't believe it's 20 years ago.
I know, scary, isn't it?
Time just flies by, really, doesn't it?
I must admit, it's one of those ones that didn't get, amazing reviews at the time and what have you. But I've always really enjoyed it. And I think it's because of watching the spin-off TV series and my kids both loving that so much. So it kind of, it's got a little soft spot in my heart for that reason.
Moving away from my other favourite villain, this other villain is a female.
Mm-hmm.
Ursula. I am sorry, but she is the quintessential villain. because to me, she has got the most amazing voice. Pat Carroll, oh my word, sensational voice. And the songs that she sings and the life that she brings into her character. And for somebody who isn't a little twig person, you know, I actually have curves, it is really, really nice to see a villain that is larger than life and she takes no excuses from it, you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
I have seen some amazing cosplays of Ursula, and very rarely do people get it right. And I've seen one or two that have absolutely done it bob on, and I've seen them do it better than Disney have done it as well.
Yeah, it's a difficult costume, though, to construct, I would imagine.
Oh, completely. But can you believe, right, the lyricist was Howard Ashman, okay? And they were having a big debate about who should voice the character. And the directors had written the role with B. Arthur from the Golden Girls in mind.
Okay,
But
yeah.
Ashman wanted to offer it to Joan Collins, of all people.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
B. Arthur, I could see. Joan Collins, not so much.
I know. I can get the fact that Joan Collins has got a real nice British twang, but her voice just isn't. And then Ashman wanted his second choice, Broadway actress Elaine Stritch.
Okay, yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Yeah. And then they sort of had a bit of a disagreement over the song of Poor Unfortunate Souls, which to me sells Ursula as the role. And eventually Pat Carroll was approached and hired to replace Stritch after Howard Ashman fired her.
It definitely needs somebody that's got that really powerful voice, though, doesn't it? That very distinctive voice.
Yeah, and she has. And she said herself that she based her performance on a combination of Shakespearean dialogue and a car salesperson.
That's an unusual combination to go for.
It is, but she's done an absolutely amazing job. And did you know that the appearance of Ursula was inspired by American actor and drag queen Divine?
Oh, I can see that, definitely, yes.
Which is a song that has just popped into my head now. You see, it's the songs that gets me. It's the songs have hooked me in, caught me up, and got me all excited about this character.
Well, it's testament to that writing duo, though, isn't it? Because they were just on fire when these movies were coming out.
Again, it's a story that's based upon Hans Christian Andersen's famous fairy tale of the Sea Witch.
Yes.
That's my favourite. I just love it to pieces. I can just listen to the song over and over. It's a great little story. Lovely to see the comeuppance. Which, you know, it's nice to get a little bit of a comeuppance at the end.
Well, they're evil. They need their comeuppance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We could talk about villains for hours and hours, and we have got some very notable mentions. Male villain, Jafar.
Yeah.
Have you got a notable mention as well, Jane?
I want to mention Hades. I think he doesn't get enough recognition, personally.
You're right there. Quite a few people mentioned it on the poll as well about Hades, and I can't remember actually watching that film either.
Well, it's 1997, Michelle, Hercules came out. So we're talking before about, Cusco and Emperor's New Groove being 20 years old. This is a little bit more than that.
Wow.
So it's hardly surprising, isn't it, really? But can I just tell you one little thing I did find out about? Because obviously this is voiced by James Wood, is Hades. Did you know that Jack Nicholson was going to voice him originally?
No way.
Yeah. But do you know why? Do you know why he didn't, though?
Go on.
Mr. Nicholson wanted between $10 and $15 million plus a 50% cut of all the proceeds from the merchandise. So Disney went, no, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Hasta la vista, baby.
Yeah, I think the great thing is, though, that James Woods kind of nailed the whole character, and he's carried on being the character for over 2 decades. Anything where Hades is voiced, it is James Wood that carries on doing it. So he obviously enjoys it. Good on him.
Yeah, good for him. Well, Jane,
Mm.
I think it's been quite fun talking about the villains for a while. I like that.
Yeah, well, they're good characters to get into, aren't they? Because they've got some meat on the bones, so to speak.
Yeah, very interesting. We'll have to delve into some villainous talk a little bit later on another show. Now, this week we're going to have a little bit of a watch of Coco, and that's going to be the focus film for our quiz on Sunday as well.
Yes, I better do that, hadn't I? And not at the last minute like last weekend.
I'm going to watch it on Saturday. So
Right,
that's my
okay.
plan.
Right, I might have to join you then.
Okay, well, we might set up a UK view for it then, because we can do it within the country. We can't just do it across the world, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah.
But lots of fun things coming up over the next few weeks. We've got Anthony Markham making a trip over to Walt Disney World, so I'm looking forward to some pictures. Lots of lovely theme park foodie talk coming up. And we have obviously got some seasonal Christmas music that we will be enjoying.
Definitely.
But until next week, you can find us at DisDreamGirls on Instagram and Twitter. You can read our show notes on our blog, DisneyDreamGirls.com. And you can contact Jane and I via our Facebook pages. But until next week, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.